way that Bayern Munich are playing right now, it's difficult to see anybody getting near them, because it's only been in phases of games this season that we've seen teams being able to challenge them. When Bayer Leverkusen went to the Allianz Arena, they were dominated for much of it.
Offense, last minute winners, title race. What happened to Bayer Leverkusen? Bayer Leverkusen is a German football club that plays in the Bundesliga. They're managed by Xabi Alonso. They shocked the entire world going a Bundesliga season undefeated. They ultimately lost a 3-0 loss to Atalanta in the Europa League final. This changed everything. Before this, it wasn't always sunshine and rainbows for Leverkusen. They were always a good team but never could quite reach great. That was until the 2022-23 season. Everyone only focused on the title race between Bayern and Dortmund, but no one saw how Alonso changed the club. They faced many bad results. Gerardo Sarion is why. Under his management, they finished third in the 21-22 season. This was great on paper, but once the next season came around, everything changed. In the start of the 2022-23 season, Bayer Leverkusen saw themselves in 14th place. He was sacked. He was replaced under Xabi Alonso, a former Real Madrid and Liverpool player. Under Xavi, they finished the exact same season 6th, qualifying for Euro. Obviously, he was kept after this. Then the next season, the best Bundesliga season of all time. After Kane joined Bayern, it seemed to everyone that Bayern was going to win the league. With no striker and a change in managers, they still won the league last season. But because of a large amount of losses and disappointing results, Bayern lost their lead. In September 23rd, Bayer Leverkusen drew 2-2 with Bayern in classic Leverkusen fashion with a last-minute goal. This was a penalty. Bayern faced losses to teams like Dortmund, Heidenheim, 5-1 Frankfurt, and even 1-0 to Werder. Bayern would never lose to these teams. It's crazy to know that Bayern had one more point than last season but still lost the league, winning it last season. However, this doesn't really show that bad because Bayern were just way more inconsistent this year. Way more inconsistent last year. This just showed Leverkusen's dominance. But it really looks like Bayer Leverkusen are Bayern's only challenge this season. But even that challenge is gone. Leverkusen almost won the treble, winning their first Bundesliga, second DFB Pokal, or German Super Cup, and first German Super Cup. Going into the final versus Atalanta, they were expected to win. Atalanta faced teams like Liverpool, beat them 3-0, 3-1 on aggregate, and they versed other good teams too, like Marseille, who looked really good. But Leverkusen also versed some pretty good teams. They versed West Ham, pretty good team in the Premier League. They won the Conference League, and they versed like really good teams as well. But many people compared Leverkusen to Madrid. I mean, they looked like two of the best teams in the world. Madrid won the Champions League, but honestly, aside from that, Leverkusen, they were dominant all season, not losing a single game in the Bundesliga. No team has ever done that before. But when the match came, it was a different story. Bayer suffered 3 goals from a Lookman hat trick, the first in a Europa League final. This was their only loss they had this season, even though they played 53 games. After this, I think it was all over. They won the knockout and Super Cup finals going into the next season, beating Stuttgart, a pretty good team who finished second, and they made it because they finished second because Leverkusen won the knockout and the Bundesliga. And they also faced another team who had a good run in the Pokal, but they were second division. We all saw Leverkusen finally reach the Champions League. Most people believe that they would put up a great fight. Quarterfinals, semifinals, maybe even the final. Honestly, Madrid and Leverkusen seemed like the best teams in the world. It didn't seem like anybody could beat them. When the Super Cup came, everybody was like excited for Madrid Leverkusen. Everybody was talking about this, hoping this match would happen, hoping it would come. Nobody thought that Atalanta was this good. I mean, look at Atalanta right now. They're like second in Serie A, probably going to first, and they're doing so good in the Champions League. Nobody really paid attention to how good they were. But honestly, it feels like Leverkusen finally faced a consistent team. I mean, in the Europa League, you're facing teams like West Ham. It's a decent team, but you're not facing anything crazy. And like in the Bundesliga, it's like the top people in the Bundesliga just face the easiest teams. They're facing teams that are a lot worse than them, a lot worse squads, a lot less money. But I mean, it's still very difficult to do. But honestly, you can't even say that anymore, because Leverkusen are just they're not even playing good anymore. They're drawing to teams like Holstein Kiel, who are all the way in the relegation zone. They're drawing to the worst teams. Due to last minute winners, their defense looks like absolute garbage. And the best example of this, of their defense being poor, was in the first game against Mönchengladbach, where they gave up a 2-0 lead. They still won 3-2 because Leverkusen scored a last minute penalty from Florian Wirtz to win the game. Ever since this, they cannot defend. They lost their first match in the Bundesliga in a year against RB Leipzig, also giving up a 2-0 lead. They keep conceding last-minute goals and blowing early leads against even teams in relegation. On my birthday, September 28th, Bayern and Bayer Leverkusen played each other in Bayern Stadium. Even though it was a 1-1 draw, the game was all Bayern. Leverkusen did not seem threatening at all. When I saw the game, it looked like Bayern were the only team that could stay in their own half. Leverkusen could not escape their own half for anything. But sadly, it looked like Bayern just couldn't finish their chances. But now they've conceded 19 goals and drew 5 games with 1 loss. They look like a shadow of their former selves. They haven't looked too bad in the Champions League, but they are facing pretty similar teams to them. Teams which are worse, if anything. I mean, they beat AC Milan, but AC Milan isn't looking any good right now. I mean, they beat Madrid, but Madrid ain't looking good either. And, I mean, they lost 4-0 to Liverpool, 4-0 to Liverpool. Liverpool's a good team right now, probably the best team in the world, but it's not a good result. But, honestly, you just cannot see Leverkusen winning the league this season, or winning anything this season. Bayern under Vincent Company are looking incredible, and they look like they're running away with the title. They are 7 points ahead of Leverkusen. Under Thomas Tuchel, it really didn't seem like Bayern were that good. It seemed that they were good in the Champions League and stuff. But I'd say Tuchel's more of a knockout game manager. He's not that good at leagues. Like, he didn't really do that good with Chelsea in the Premier League. Not really that good for Bayern as well. But in the Champions League, he's been incredible. He's been insane. I mean, they made the semi-final, almost made the final. Should have won it, honestly. In the knockout games, they're very good. But now, I mean, Leverkusen have a good chance if they don't screw this up, if they don't bottle it. Because they have games like Bayern in the DFB Pokal round of 16. They might win it or lose it, depends, but Harry Kane's injured for that game. They're not really that good without him. And they're only 7 points behind. But this might not even happen because instead of scoring last minute goals, they're being scored against in the last few minutes.